Welcome, summoners, to Games Cast by PanderNyrl. If you wish to see more commented games, follow my social media pages below. As we do see a Blitzcrank and Elise immediately banned away, neither team wanted to deal with those very annoying champions. This is going to be Fnatic versus Absolute Legends. And we do see a Zyra Kha'Zix immediately banned out, one after the other. Not wanting to deal with that insanely annoying Zyra support, and Kha'Zix just has the ability to really dominate a lane and snowball the game to ridiculous levels. Very wise bans coming out, and looks like a Shen ban, not wanting to see that double global comp that we've seen several times by the Asian teams, as it's really a devastating comp, and Shen really punishes teams that try to go in and play aggressively. Shen is first picked from Absolute Legends, as we see an Evelynn ban. Evelynn's basically been permanent banned this tournament. Her roam is just a little too strong, and her damage is pretty ridiculous at all stages of the game as soon as she hits level 6. And this Lee Sin could go top, he could go mid, he could go jungle. Lee Sin's one of those versatile characters that can go basically anywhere he wants and has a very good time. And I think it's a very smart choice and a very safe choice to pick up early on. You don't show what you're doing, other than the fact you're going to be at least a little bit aggressive, because Lee Sin has to be aggressive. He doesn't scale amazingly well into late game. He scales decently well, as he does have a fair number of strong abilities, but it looks like we are going to have Caitlyn and Nunu coming out from the Fnatic side. It's a very safe, strong bottom lane. It scales incredibly well thanks to Blood Boil being one of the strongest abilities in the game. And Caitlyn has an amazing ability to sit back, poke from range, and protect herself, which is why Caitlyn's seen a lot of action, as there have been a lot of dive champions, more or less, been picked this tournament that have the ability to just run through the enemy team, and Caitlyn has the ability to kind of sit back and push them away. Looks like Olaf is going to be taken by Absolute Legends, and a Sona as well. Olaf, basically another staple of this tournament, as he has been picked or banned in virtually every single game. He's such an incredibly good top laner, and he has very few matchups he loses against, and the only matchup he really loses against that we've seen is Kha'Zix, and Kha'Zix is banned out at this point. So Olaf should have a very nice time top. I don't think anyone is really going to be able to dominate him, and he should be able to farm up to a fast Warmongs or Sunfire Cave, depending upon what he chooses. Looks like Zed is going to be a pick out of Fnatic. Could go mid or top, but a very strong assassin. We do see Sona from Absolute Legends, which has just been a very standard support. Her heal has been incredibly powerful, as it gives that lane sustain and allows her to out-trade most people. Her ultimate has also been used to great effect, especially when combined with Flash, hitting 3 and 4 targets in some of these team fights and really being an initiator that these teams need. Lulu picked up as well, looking to really pile on some team fight. I'm not sure where they're going to actually go. Lulu could be a mid or it could be a Nunu jungle. They have a lot of interesting choices coming out from Fnatic, and it's really going to throw AL through a loop, as I'm not sure who they're going to pick up. And Oriana and Corki here would be a very nice pickup, as it gives them even more ridiculous team fight. And Corki has great damage and a good bit of AoE as well, which means they could really pour on the AoE, letting Lee Sin jump in with the Oriana ball on her, or Olaf with the Oriana ball for some massive damage. And I'm going to talk about Fnatic once they've kind of solidified their team comp, as I'm not sure what they're going with, because I think they could run a Nunu in the jungle with a Lulu Caitlyn down bottom, as I think that would probably be the most likely situation. Then they could pick up a mid laner or a top here. But as I said a moment ago, they could switch that up anyway. But it looks like they are really going to try and keep Caitlyn alive and let her carry this game. In addition to that, they're going to have Zed try and pick off either Corki or Oriana with his really massive damage, and then go from there. But Corki and Oriana are locked in, and this is a very good setup for Absolute Legends. They have a healthy mix of damage, and they can get two real big frontline tanky people with Lee Sin and Olaf that really go well with Oriana. Looks like we are going to have an Ezreal picked up, and this is actually a really different lineup for Fnatic, running 2 AD carries and 2 supports, more or less. Okay, looks like we are into the game. I don't expect to see any real level 1 shenanigans, though it looks like we are going to have Nunu in the jungle with Lulu support and Caitlyn down bottom. Ezreal likely into the mid lane to try and really poke down this Oriana. And that's a lot of physical damage coming out from the Fnatic side. But it could also be an ability power Ezreal. I know ability power Ezreal has been run in the past, but it looks like we are going to see a 2v1 lane as Olaf is running down bottom. Looks like Sona is going to be heading up top. Will they actually decide to send a 2v1 lane mid to try and focus down Ezreal? As I'm pretty sure he's going to be mid lane this game. But as I said a moment ago, it could go any way, as Fnatic has a lot of options to run lanes basically however they want. And they can really capitalize on the fact that they could cause some confusion, as players have been known to rotate lanes around a whole lot this tournament, especially with the 2v1 lanes mid. That's been a real big thing that's worked out very well for whoever does it. Looks like we are going to see Oriana just checking around, but Nunu will start blue buff with no real threats, as we do have Zed running up top, Ezreal in the mid lane. Looks like we are going to have, looks like Lee Sin might be, yeah, looks like Lee Sin is going to go top with Olaf mid, or Olaf jungle. They could have tried a lane swap, but I think they're just going to play standard now. They thought about it having Olaf running down bottom, but instead he's just going to start his red buff and do a, I'd hope he'd do an early gank if he starts red buff. Otherwise, I don't see why he would, as no one is going to get blue buff very early, and he is not in very good shape after that leash. Just not using his potions very well. But we are going to see lanes fairly stand out with Lee Sin up top, Oriana in the mid lane, Corki, Sona down bottom for Absolute Legends, while Fnatic is going to be picking up Zed up top, Nunu in the jungle, Caitlyn and Lulu down bottom. Looks like Olaf is immediately going for the blue buff, looking to probably gank fairly soon. And I don't think Lee Sin's going to have a very good time against Zed. Zed does great against Lee Sin, as Lee Sin just doesn't have any real good ways to get on him. Zed can easily just jump away with his shadows or apply a lot of pressure every time. It doesn't stop Zed from farming. I would have liked to see Olaf top over Lee Sin, but that's just my opinion. And Nunu is up top, going to be roaming around as we do see Olaf coming in. But Olaf will not be able to get into this fight, I don't believe, though Lee Sin is applying a little bit of pressure. Zed could easily at this point jump away. He is level 2. He does flash, deciding to just jump away from the axe. And as soon as Zed hits level 3, there's going to be no way to really gank him. But down bottom, Corki's taking a lot of harassment from this Lulu Caitlyn lane. And that's exactly what you want to see out of Lulu Caitlyn. Their ability to poke is virtually unmatched. The only thing that might do a little better is Caitlyn Sona, but this is doing incredibly well. Sona and Corki can't really get in there to fight, and it's really going to give Caitlyn a nice advantage. Lulu could flash forward to try something, but she does not have Ignite. And it looks like Caitlyn's going to try and go poke Corki, and as long as Corki isn't in tower range, the tower is not going to shift aggro. As we saw there, Caitlyn can poke all she wants, as long as they're behind the tower. And they poked him low enough that Sona can't get close. She's going to be out of mana fairly soon. Ezreal is getting zoned out a little bit here by Oriana, as he does have to spend a fair bit of mana dodging those balls, as Oriana does a good bit of damage if she can actually land one on you before hitting minions. But that's the real big problem. Looks like Nunu's going to go counter jungle, as we do see Olaf coming up top. Ignite is thrown on Zed rather quickly, and Zed likely will go down here for first blood. He does not have a shadow to jump to, and that is Olaf picking up first blood up top. Zed just playing a little too aggressively, as Nunu is going to be able to counter jungle the race away. But first blood up top is a big deal, as that means Zed will be behind just a little bit, and Lee Sin will be able to possibly get on him for a good advantage. Usually Zed has a fairly good time against Lee Sin, as he can dodge a lot of his skill shots with his shadow. But this game he just didn't have the ability and was playing a little too aggressive without knowing exactly where Olaf was. So Caitlyn Lulu still doing a great job of pressuring this tower, and this tower is going to go down fairly quickly. This is the one disadvantage of Corki, is his range is just not very high. And every time he goes in the last hit, Caitlyn is poking him or Lulu's poking him. And he's just not been able to do a whole lot. He started with boots and potions, as we do see Olaf coming down bottom, but he will be spotted out. Though this is basically a required gank from Olaf, just to prevent that tower from going down. And if Olaf didn't gank there, that tower was basically dead. though Caitlyn and Lulu are going to still be able to pressure pretty hard, as I don't think Olaf has much of a chance of getting a gank off here. There's just not enough CC coming out of Absolute Legends down bottom for them to really do anything, as Sona CC only comes available at level 6, while Caitlyn and Lulu have a whole lot of CC starting basically now, as we do have Caitlyn traps the net, Lulu's polymorph and slow, and they can really keep someone down for a long time. Looks like Ezreal has picked up a tier of the goddess, likely going to bring that into a Manamura later on, as that is such a good item for him, as it allows him to poke for a whole lot of damage. Olaf coming in from the backside, but I think Caitlyn will spot him out. Yes, he will with a trap, as she does dodge the axe and applies a good bit of damage to Olaf, and Olaf getting very low. Looks like Oriana's also picked up a tier of the goddess, as we do see Olaf picking up the Spirit Stone. And this is just the advantage Caitlyn Lulu has, and oh boy, is it working out so well this game. Corki is just not in very good shape, and this Caitlyn is really going to town farming, almost doubling him up at this point. Ezreal also doing a great job of farming mid, keeping Oriana at bay, as he does have a slight CS lead. Though it looks like the first tower of the game is going to go in the way of Fnatic, as they're really pushing this bottom tower hard. And it will go down as soon as Caitlyn decides to actually auto-attack it, unless she's just going to let the minions take it, and it looks like she is. And there's one tower down. Usually what they try to do lane swaps to get that early tower, but instead they just picked a lineup that really destroys it, and it looks like we do have Ezreal beating out on Oriana, taking a kill, evening the kills out at 1-1, with Fnatic getting about 1,000 gold lead at this point. I'm kind of surprised Oriana didn't just run away and farm safely, but apparently Ezreal's just incredibly good at picking off Oriana. So Oriana just looked like she took just a few too many pokes when Ezreal decided to all in with everything he had. Zed doing a pretty good job farming up top, slightly ahead of Lee Sin in terms of farm, but he has died once to a rather well ganked by Olaf. Lee Sin picking up an early Ninja Tabi, as we do see a push coming in the middle for Fnatic. And I kind of feel scared for the Absolute Legends side, as if they have a whole lot of late game power on the Fnatic side with Ezreal, Nunu, Caitlyn. Basically their entire team on the Fnatic side is a late game comp, and it looks like they are going to do a lane swap now, as Caitlyn and Lulu are just going to pressure this top lane to beat bits, and I don't think Lee Sin can do anything about it, as Caitlyn has picked up 2 Duran's Blades, and Zed's going to be down bottom, and he should have a fairly nice time farming, as his Shadow can farm from a pretty good distance, and he does have his Q. I'm not sure what exactly he's leveling up, but he can use that to farm fairly well from basically a mile away, as that's really one of the strengths of Zed, is he can just sit back and farm without any real repercussions, other than the fact it's going to cost him most of his energy, and he's not going to be able to really fight. But here comes Zed jumping in as Nunu comes in for a gank, and Sona is taken down already. And Corki is in a lot of trouble, as he's not going to be able to get away. He's burned his summoners, with the exception of Ignite, and there goes the Nunu ultimate as Corki just tries to fight, and that's a double kill for Zed. And that is exactly what you wanted to see on the Fnatic side. Zed picking up kills, because Zed can snowball to an amazing champion, or he can just basically pick someone off, anyone in a team fight, and still just be an annoying mess afterwards. Looks like Ezreal is going to jump onto Oriana, and the big thing about Ezreal Oriana is Oriana can just run away from, or Ezreal can just run away from the Oriana's ball. Nunu getting fairly low by Olaf, and the big ultimate by Oriana hits 2, as Zed is in a lot of trouble, and he is taken down here by Olaf. Looks like we are going to have Oriana going down, but Ezreal is just dodging those axes. Will Ezreal be able to get another arcane shift away? Looks like he doesn't, but the ultimate does not go off. Olaf finishes him off before it goes off. But Fnatic did take a dragon during that, trading overall 3 for 3 as they picked off both bottom laners and the dragon. Looks like Caitlyn decided to finish off that top tower as well, meaning the tower score is 2 for Fnatic, 0 for Absolute Legends. And Caitlyn Lulu is just going to continue to push around the map. And it looks like there is really no stopping Caitlyn. It looks like we do have Ezreal going for an ability power build, which is a rather interesting choice. We do not see ability power Ezreal very often, but it seems like it's going to work this game. He could decide to go Archangels instead of Manamura, though I do like the Manamura build on him, as it works kind of like it does on Ryze, just allowing him to poke off with his single target abilities and really proc the Manamura active ability. As we do see Zed picking up a BF sword. And it looks like Ezreal is going to rotate bottom with Zed rotating top. And this rotation by Fnatic has really thrown Absolute Legends through a bit of a loop, as they just haven't really gotten anything going at any of their lanes. They're keeping up in kills fairly well, but it's all been on their jungler, as he has been involved in every single kill and has just done a very good job. And this is basically coming down to every single lane not doing well for Absolute Legends. Caitlyn is up 20 CS and several towers, which has really been the difference of this game. Looks like Nunu's going to be roaming around a bit looking for blue buff, but it is not up at the moment. It might be up soon, as he's likely to ward it. Zed going to come into the mid lane, and Zed could easily get an assassination off on Oriana if he gets in range, but he decides not, and just to farm out the lane. Looks like Nunu going to come in the mid lane, and they are going to have a big push coming here from Fnatic as Caitlyn enters as well. But we are going to see a counter push slightly by Absolute Legends, as they are grouped up as 4. Ezreal down bottom playing it a bit aggressively, but he is fairly well warded, as we do see Wraith ward coming out and ward near the double golems, meaning he's looking to play it safe and 2v1 down bottom, as he can easily bully this Corki around, landing attacks every few seconds on him. And it looks like we do have Ezreal absolutely bursting down Sona down bottom. And a little bit of lag from the stream. So we are going to have Ezreal pick up that kill and go back to farming. And AP Ezreal does a lot of burst damage, especially on his ultimate, which he did burn there. Looks like Zed is going to find Olaf in the jungle, but he is just going to use his shadow to escape along with the slow, as Olaf really doesn't want to pursue that. There's no help for him, while Zed could easily have had Ezreal run across and help him out. Looks like we are going to have Olaf trying to get onto Caitlyn, as Caitlyn is hit, but she does flash away from the ball. And she will be able to actually flash away as Lulu does pop her own ultimate. But Olaf will not be able to pick up any kills, as a very well done job by Caitlyn using her escape abilities to get away. And Lulu for applying the slows to make sure Olaf had to burn his ult early. Okay, let me switch the quality on stream, see if that's affecting it or if it's the stream itself. But okay, we shall see. And it looks like we are back into things with a 2,000 gold lead for Fnatic. But no big deal, as Absolute Legends really has to get something going. Even though they are not down a whole lot of gold, it just feels like Fnatic has an incredible late game team comp, with the likes of Zed and Ezreal. And I'm not sure Oriana is going to be able to deal with it, as she likely will pick up the early Archangel staff into Manamura, or the Seraphim's Embrace. And yeah, that is the IEM stream. Nothing I can do about that. I do apologize. But it looks like Sona is going to be taken down here by Ezreal, and this AP Ezreal doing a whole lot of work. And really kind of a surprise pick. I did not think he was going to be able to go ability power and do this good. But it's hard to complain with these results, as he has picked up 4 kills for his team. And looking to pick up even more as Lee Sin does jump in on him. But here comes Lulu to save everyone, as Olaf is coming in. Olaf does not have his ultimate. No, his ultimate has just come off cooldown. So he could have actually run in there if he wanted to, but I don't think he did, as there's a little too much damage coming out from Fnatic at this point, as Ezreal has completed his Sorcerer's Shoes, in addition to the needlessly large rod. And we do have Zed picking up a BF sword and double long swords, likely into a Brutalizer and Bloodthirster. Lee Sin's picked up a Brutalizer and Ninja Tab by Olaf, going fairly tanky with the Giant's Belt, Spirit Stone, and Philosopher's Stone, looking to really pile on that gold. Archangel staff soon to be out onto Oriana, unless she decides to go for a Death Cap first. But she will eventually be picking it up. Ezreal with double Doran's Blades and Vampiric Scepter. While we do have a kind of small fight here, it's mostly going to be them poking back and forth, trying to vie for map position, as the bottom lane is pushing out very heavily in Fnatic's favor, while Zed is going to go push the top lane as well. We do have a BF sword completed onto Caitlyn, likely going to turn that into a Vampiric Scepter and Bloodthirster. As we do see Nunu picking up a bunch of support items, likely going to go for, I'd almost go for Zeke's Herald at this point, as Ezreal Ultimate does do a good bit of damage across the entire Absolute Legends team. And this is just a very strong lineup coming out from Fnatic. Looks like we are going to see Fnatic just applying a lot of pressure to that mid lane, as it's the only outer tower left for them at this point. They do have their inner towers and inhibitor towers still all perfectly safe, but it's really putting a lot of pressure on the jungle, as Olaf is not able to farm very well. He's just really been kind of caught out and made to just sit in lanes the entire time, while Nunu can slowly go jungle or do things like this, where he can run with Caitlyn and take objectives like Dragon. And there's no way he's going to be able to be stopped as Zed pushes Lee Sin around up top. Zed did use his ultimate there. Same thing with Lee Sin, so they will not be available for the next fight, but that's a free dragon for Fnatic, and a free dragon is always a good thing. And it looks like we are just going to see them back to pushing mid, as Caitlyn's going to push down bottom. And this so far has been working out for Fnatic, as they've slowly built a gold lead, considering they have not done a whole lot of farming themselves. It's basically come down to Fnatic getting a little bit more gold from the jungle and the lanes, as Absolute Legends hasn't capitalized on it, though they are deciding to push this tower now, as I don't think there's enough wave clear from the Fnatic side, though Ezreal does jump in and absolutely rips this Sona apart. That's a real impressive Ezreal, as he goes Arcane Shift away. He does get the Lulu on him, but he does get taken down by Lee Sin. Looks like Oriana has been exhausted, but that will be the only casualty of this fight. The problem is Fnatic is in a much better spot to push, as Caitlyn has a full minion wave down bottom, and they have full health champions in the mid lane. Wasn't a bad trade trading an oath for Sona for a 4-5 kill Ezreal. Problem is they're going to lose 2 towers off of it, as they've just lost mid tower, and bottom tower is going to go down to Caitlyn, meaning 2 more towers in Fnatic's belt, as they are really looking to win this game pretty soon, as all those that tower gold is adding up. It's about a 6,000, 5,000 gold lead, just depending upon how the creep waves push. And it looks like we are going to see Nunu with an Aegis of the Legion up very soon. Likely going to be a Phage or a Brutalizer picked up onto Zed with a Warmong shortly after. We do have Ezreal finishing off the Death Cap instead of going for the Manamura or Archangel Staff. Still not sure which he's going to pick up this time, but both are perfectly viable options on him, and the Tear of the Goddess allows him to just spam spells all day long for a whole lot of damage. We do have Caitlyn going for the Vampiric Scepter, almost finishing off a Zeal. And I expect Fnatic to go push a lane, something like bottom lane this time, then rotate around, pick up the jungle, as Absolute Legends just has not had enough time to farm the jungle, and is really showing in their farm, as they're all fairly decently farmed, but it just doesn't feel like the farm that Fnatic's getting, as Caitlyn is just way ahead of everyone else, with Zed also doing a very good job. Ezreal's the only one who hasn't been farming particularly well on the Fnatic side, but it doesn't matter as much, as he's been picking off kills and making the support Sona pay for being such a squishy champion. Ezreal is going to push out bottom lane, as he could easily throw his ultimate and be a major team fight force, as his ultimate is just incredibly powerful. Oriana does throw out her ball, doing a good bit of damage to Zed, but she might be caught out here by Nunu, as her ultimate does hit too. But Nunu with a big ultimate, and the ultimate by Ezreal means that Corki goes down as well. Absolutely massive damage coming out from the Fnatic side. And this is what their whole game plan was, is to push the towers down and dominate with that really strong 2 ranged carries. It's a really good lineup, and there's no stopping it at this point. Caitlyn with the Nunu Blood Boil and all the support of Lulu means that there is no getting to her, and Ezreal has enough burst damage that he can really take someone out, especially when he's this far ahead. Looks like we are going to see Ezreal pushing down bottom, and if they do push this lane just a bit more, they could easily back and take a Baron, as that's a big wave to clear. Looks like we are going to have a static Shiv likely up onto Caitlyn fairly soon, as Lee Sin picks up a Wits and Vampiric Scepter. We do see the BF sword up on the Corki, likely into a Bloodthirster fairly soon, but he is just a little too far behind at this point. Caitlyn just farming significantly better, up 30 CS and a kill. And that's really been the story of this game, is Fnatic taking a lot of little advantages, and one real big advantage, which is towers and map objectives, as the towers have been really important all game long. Looks like Ezreal's going to shoot his ultimate off and steal the blue buff away from Oriana. Nice ward there, allows him to steal it. And it also put a lot of pressure on Oriana, because she's going to have to pick up a mana regeneration item fairly soon. That Tear of the Goddess is just not providing her enough mana for her very expensive spells. Looks like we do see the mana Mune picked up, likely into Mana Mura as soon as he gets a few more stacks. He's probably fairly close to it, which means he can just sit there and poke with his Q all day long and do a ridiculous amount of damage. And that's kind of what you want to do from Ezreal and the entire Fnatic lineup. They can basically poke with Caitlyn, Ezreal, and as soon as someone important gets to about 60 or 70% health, Zed can just jump in and blow them to bits with his Brutalizer and Bloodthirster. And that's really what Fnatic's going to be able to do in a few moments. They have such map control that they can basically do whatever. Looks like Lee Sin's jumping in on Ezreal, but there's the Lulu ultimate to keep him just safe. That was almost a good pickup by Lee Sin, but Ezreal was just in the right place, and Lulu was right there with him. But that will mean that Fnatic will be forced back, and it means that Absolute Legends can push down this mid lane if they so choose, though Ezreal is not going to go back just yet. Now he is. I thought he was going to stay, but they realized, hey, we're not pushing. There are no map objectives up. Absolute Legends is just not in a very good position at this point, as they have no real map control. They're losing out on objectives all over the place. Dragon has just respawned, but I don't think either team is going to vibe for it just yet, as Fnatic could easily go to Baron if Absolute Legends wants a Dragon, or push down even more towers, as the inhibitor towers are not in very good shape and are exposed down bottom and mid lane. Looks like we are just going to have Pokefest, as those Ezreal Qs do a whole lot of damage. And every single one is going to really be a trouble, especially since he has a blue buff, meaning he can span them out all day long without any real threat. Looks like Absolute Legends are going for Dragon, but they will be spotted out. Zed is just a little out of position for this, but not too much so, as he really wants to come in. Flash ultimate by Sona, but the ultimate from Oriana only hits one. Nunu getting very low and will be taken down by Olaf, but Lee Sin pays for it with his own life. The same does Olaf, and Zed is just running in here, and this is Fnatic's game, as they only lose the Nunu for taking out everyone but Corki, and it looks like they are just going to go rush Baron, as I see no real stopping Fnatic at this point. They've just snowballed such a good early game lead that there is no stopping them. And we do have Ezreal picking up Mana Mura now after that fight, and this means Baron will be going down. Looks like bottom tower was actually taken by Absolute Legends, so that's some consolation prize, but it is not enough, as Fnatic is just rolling this game, and I'm not sure what Absolute Legends can do. They really did not expect this AP Ezreal to be this effective. It is honestly even surprising me how effective it is, as I thought a double AD strat might have been a better option and a more standard option, as we've seen very few traditional AP carries this game outside of a few kind of like this Oriana and Twisted Fate. Looks like we do have a Brutalizer finished up onto, Black Cleaver finished up on his head, and he's about to finish off an even bigger item in the Last Whisper, meaning there is no amount of armor that's going to stop him this game. And it looks like we can't actually see how much it is. Yeah, a little over 2,000 mana for Ezreal, meaning his Q is going to do a ridiculous amount of damage. Same thing with his Arcane Shift, as that is a single target ability as well. Looks like we are going to have Caitlyn and Nunu soloing Dragon. which will bring this gold lead to about 10,000 gold for Fnatic. And without a single tower, or with only one tower taken down by Absolute Legends, they just don't have the map pressure they need to really come back in this game. Their entire jungle, especially the bigger bottom half of it, is very vulnerable. And with the fact that Ezreal can easily fire his True Shot Barrage into blue buff and steal it at any point, it means that Oriana is not going to have a blue buff unless it is very carefully guarded. Looks like Lulu is going to be building into a Warmongs, as she does have the Giant's Belt and Ruby Crystal. She's just looking to stack on health at this point and be a real nuisance in team fights. She doesn't need to do a whole lot of damage, as there's a ridiculous amount of damage coming out from the rest of Fnatic's team, with Zed, Caitlyn, and Ezreal all being ridiculously strong at this point, and Nunu to back up any one of them with Blood Boil for some more massive damage. Death Cap has been completed on Oriana, and Zeal completed up onto Corki, but we'll see how that affects next team fight. Oriana really needs to get a good ultimate off, as that last fight, her ultimate only hit Nunu, and only hitting Nunu is not good if you're Oriana. You have to hit 4, possibly even 5 people with that ultimate if Absolute Legend wants to come back. Looks like Zed's going to jump over the wall, and that means a dead Zed, as he gets a little too greedy and not realizing everyone from Absolute Legends was here. As it looks like Caitlyn is just going to run away. Same thing with Nunu. But as Absolute Legends does not pursue, and with Zed down and not able to pick up Sona, that means that Absolute Legends can secure their jungle, push out these lanes. But it looks like Ezreal is in a little bit of trouble, but he does decide to dodge every single one of those abilities. And we are going to see Fnatic back up. I don't think they can continue this push until Zed's back up. They really need Zed's assassination ability to either kill Corki or Oriana, so they don't have time to sit there and damage. That is one way that Absolute Legends can come back, is just a fight where Corki gets basically free auto attacks the entire time. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to. We do see a Shirley's Reverie picked up onto Olaf, as we do have likely another Shirley's Reverie or a Zeke's coming out onto Sona. Static Shiv and Last Whisper up onto Caitlyn, as Warmongs is now completed onto Lulu. Kind of surprising she's the first one to pick it up, as most games we've seen 2, 3, 4 Warmongs at least. We are going to have a Runic Bulwark up on Nunu pretty soon, as a Randuin's Omen on Olaf is coming up shortly. The Randuin's Omen is a good choice by Olaf, as he's going to be focused first, as he can just run in there with the Oriana ball on him for a good bit of damage. But the problem is, it's really not a frozen heart. It's not the consistent slow. He has to be hit. And the fact that Ezreal's doing that much damage to him, that was he took him down to half health with just that little bit of poke. And he's not going to be able to enter this team fight, as the Ezreal ultimate does go out and almost kills Corki in one shot. But Sona goes down just from the Ezreal Q. Wow, that ability power Ezreal is ridiculous. That is really some damage. This Sona can't even enter the team fight. She can't even get on the same side of the map as this Ezreal, as that ultimate plus Q really finished her off. It is just impressive how much damage. And I'd almost say you want to ban Ezreal against Fnatic, and that's going to leave some other options open. And some not very pleasant options is champions like Kha'Zix or Evelynn might actually become open to Fnatic to pick if they have to ban off this AP Ezreal. And it looks like Ezreal will be doing a bit of damage to Corki, but not a whole lot, as he just landed that Q. And it looks like he's just going to push mid lane, as they really don't have any threats on the Absolute Legend side that can really get in there outside of an Oriana ultimate or Olaf just running in. But neither one of them are strong enough to really get into this fight. Looks like Lee Sin does land an ability onto Caitlyn, but not enough, as they can't really pursue after it. All 5 members of Fnatic are just going to sit around and slow push this tower, as Caitlyn's amazing at slow push. All those traps perfectly set up so that she can't be engaged on. And she can just sit there and poke the tower a few times with Blood Boil on for a whole lot of damage and eventually take it, in addition to getting those static shiv procs, making everyone on the Absolute Legend side just a little wary about going in. Oriana not able to land her ball, as she just can't get close enough without getting poked by Ezreal. And one hit from that Ezreal will likely spell doom for someone, as we do see Lee Sin getting taken down about 15 to 20% of his health here. we are going to see Caitlyn just poking this tower, and it will be going down very shortly. Super minions are going to stack up top. Ezreal ultimate does fly, and there goes Sona. And Corki is at way too low health, as we do see Lee Sin finished off. Oriana ball does hit 3, but it's a little too late, and there is no follow-up on it. That should be good game in the favor of Fnatic. Ezreal ultimate plus his Q, really just shredding every single target. And no one from the Absolute Legend side really can even engage these team fights. He's just doing way too much damage. If they got a team fight where Ezreal didn't land a beautiful ultimate every single time, they might have had a chance. But no, that Ezreal ultimate just bursted something dead. Thank you for watching Games Cast by PanderNyrl. For more commented games, please visit my YouTube and stream channels.